Good morning, and welcome to Our Neutral Voices Presents A Financial Pillar. I'm your host, Ryan Leopard, and joining me today are my friends from DR Financial, Chris Hanna.
Good morning.
Mark Ellington.
Good morning, friend.
And from Our Neutral Voices, James Scott.
Good morning, everybody. Long time no see. Good to see you guys.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
How was your Labor Day?
Too short.
Too short. I don't have a response for that. No.
Drop the mic.
So, real quick, before we get into today's topic, I have a short quiz for you. If you guys can remember back to one of our first 3 or 4 episodes, we talked about budgeting, right? The number one tip I gave from budgeting, does anybody remember what that was?
The number one tip.
Apparently it wasn't that good.
Put something away for savings or?
Okay, you never go to this place when you're hungry.
Grocery store.
Don't go shopping when you're hungry, right?
Yeah.
Okay, reason why I asked that question, last night went to the grocery store. Kids wanted some nachos for dinner. Figured I'd stop in there, buy some chips and some meat and some cheese and get out of there maybe $15, which would be a very, very cheap dinner, right? I left there spending $116. Okay. As soon as I walked out of the store, I thought back to the episode. I was like, I just failed my budgeting 101. Don't ever go to the store hungry, people.
What you buy, you shouldn't have bought, though.
Everything.
What was that?
Everything.
Little Debbie's. And...
No, and I will be truthful. Most of it was for the kids, but I still could have saved all that money and just going out to eat again.
True.
But I thought I saved money and spend $20 instead of $40-50 going out to eat, and I ended up spending twice that much. So yeah, even I need some help with budgeting sometimes. So, but that'll take us into our topic today, which is retirement. Okay, so James, Mark, Chris, that's something you guys do a lot in your line of business, correct?
Correct.
So where I want to start this is when should I start thinking about retirement, right? My experience was, in my early 20s, it's not a thought that ever crossed my mind. Is there a time too early to start thinking about that, or what's your thoughts?
I think you start whenever you start working, if you can. A lot of times when we're young and maybe we get a high school job, I think that's a good time to start because you got to build those foundations and principles. And sometimes when you're working those high school jobs, now some people do need all that money to survive and help their family out, right?
Yeah.
The other families, like for my kids, it's about building that work ethic that, hey, we get out and we start working when we can. And I think that same conversation with that child at that point can be, hey, you got to put money away for retirement in some way. And, what's nice, they can do like a Roth IRA right then, which can grow tax-free until they retire, which, you start working at 15, that money can grow for the next 40, 50 years. So that can be a real foundation principle. So I think anytime you start working, you should start thinking somewhat about retirement.
Yeah, and I can think back to my situation in my early 20s, like I was, or probably throughout my whole 20s, retirement was never a thought that crossed my mind. I was worried about buying a house, establishing myself, having some fun along the ways, and then just seeing from, the age 30 to 40, just 10 years, what I built in retirement, and think, man, if I would have started 10 years sooner, where I would be at, be a much better place. With that. So it's just a mindset that we got to start getting into a little bit sooner. And truthfully, I don't remember anybody really talking to me about retirement. In my 20s, that's so far away, so down the road. I have time to do that. But, you could be a much different situation if you start sooner.
Yeah, I think that's something to bring up, in today's world. I mean, when most of us were starting those high school jobs, you're right. There was really nowhere to hear about the financial side of what do I got to do, except for maybe your parents. And, most of the time that wasn't even talked about by your parents. I think the generation now growing up, going to high school, and maybe after graduating high school, it's a lot easier in between, radio shows like Dave Ramsey or TV or, just things on TikTok or Facebook. Nowadays, anybody can be reached anywhere, and any person with a phone, which is pretty much everybody, has the ability to find that financial information out there. They don't have to wait for somebody to tell them. They can go research for it and ask questions.
So where would I start at planning a retirement, right? I'm 25 years old. I've been working a job. Don't know much about retirement. Where should I start? Mark?
Well, I think going back to what Chris talked about, first of all, let's pay yourself first. I mean, if you start practicing these principles now, even if it's not for retirement, you're just starting putting money aside, continue living within your means. The whole concept is to have choices down the road. If we don't discipline ourselves now, you're going to have choices down the road. And I think to start, with a financial counselor, look at the options. What are the things I could do? I could do a Roth IRA. I can get in the market, start to understand something about the market, how to diversify, those kind of things.
Now, when you said pay yourself first, are you talking about just a matter of savings account, or are you talking about
I'm
through
saying
a work-sponsored retirement plan? Or
you take 10% of what you make, you set aside for you in an account. Retirement, it might be for a car or whatever. You're starting to discipline yourselves and learn to live within your means, because what happens to most of us, like Chris is talking about, when we're young, it's all in your next date, or you're just thinking about, I got it, so I spend it, instead of really starting that principle and learning. And it's amazing to find someone that's done that at a young age. Chris and I'll see it not often, but every now and then somebody started, and there they sit with 50 grand at 20, 25 years old.
So what you're telling 25-year-old Ryan is, instead of spending $100 at the bar every weekend, I should have only spent like 50, put the other 50 away?
Well, I think you could do, learn how to try to live on 70 to 80% of your income.
Right.
That way 10%, can go to tithes if you're going to church. 10% can go into a savings account, and you don't have to have a savings account, that you're putting away money forever. I try to tell people put, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses into a savings account, but then that last 10% should go toward a retirement account. And I think that's important that you look for a job that maybe will match that retirement, or provide money to retirement.
So talk to me about that. Talk to me a little bit about, work-sponsored retirement plans, how that works, what you should contribute to that.
Well, many workplaces, probably the most that you'll see is about 6%. Probably the average is about 3% of what you.
Is that what you're saying is the max they'll let you contribute?
No, I would say
or
that's
how
the
much
max.
you should?
But, I'm saying this is what the companies will match.
Oh, matching.
Depending on what kind of retirement plan, there can be 401k, 403b, simple IRAs. I'm not going to go through all the how much you can put in there, because they're all
Most of our
different.
listeners were probably talking about a traditional 401k.
Yeah.
Right?
So, you may be able to put, 12, 15, 16,000 bucks, 17, maybe more than that. For most people, it's about putting something away. People will tell me, how do I start saving for retirement? Start.
Start.
I mean, start.
Right.
Was it $1, $5,
Right.
$20? Start.
And if you can find a job, and right now there's jobs available, seems like a lot of places, find one that does do a matching to the retirement. At least get some of that extra money from your employer to help supplement and add to your retirement. I mean, there's choices that you can make working someplace that doesn't do anything for retirement, and there are some places that you can work that help you with retirement. So in this environment, maybe make those choices that you work somewhere that can help you with retirement. So that way you can start putting more money away, and they can add more.
Especially in today's work environment,
Right.
where employers they've had to get more competitive with their wages and with their benefits. You're going to find most employers are going to have some sort of retirement plan in place, whether it's matching, 25%, 50%, 100%, whatever the case may be, right? So I'm setting, what would be a good percentage for me to start saving, right? I know you said start with anything, but 1%, 3%, 6%. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, in one sense, I would say 10% of your income. I like that number.
10%. If you just say that to me, sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Man, how am I going to budget for losing 10% of my income?
So that's the top end, right? My lower end is, what will the company max you? So if you put in a certain amount and they'll max you up to that amount, then at least try to put that amount in. I mean, if you always think about it, if you put more money in than what they're maxing, they're not giving you any extra anyways. So when you talk to the retirement rep that you have for your company or the information, look how much can I put it in, and they'll max it. At least put in enough to get
To get the full max.
To the full max.
Match.
So that way you're getting use of their funds.
Okay.
And then after that, then you can start deciding how much more you want to do or not.
Okay. So I hear terms, 401k, IRA, traditional IRA, Roth IRA, right? I'm new to this. I don't know what those terms mean. Can you help me understand the difference between those?
Let's simplify it a little bit. Let's just say with a Roth IRA, you pay your taxes before you put your money in there. And the real benefit of that is that it grows tax-free. And as long as you take it out after 59 and a half, you don't pay any income tax on that distribution. Little caveat, you can always pull out what you put in before 59 and a half tax-free. So I tell a lot of people, put money in that Roth IRA, you pay the taxes on it. In a way, it can act like a little bit of a savings account, long as you kind of keep track of what you put in. So if you put in, let's say over 3 years, you put in $10,000 and it's worth $13,000, the first $10,000 you pull out is your money and it's not taxable. So you can think of it as kind of doing dual purposes, savings and retirement at the same time. Now, all the other plans you're mentioning, pretty much, 401k, 403b, traditional IRA, pension sharing plans, and that kind of stuff, all those are pre-tax. You're not paying tax dollars when you go in with them, but when you pull the money out, you're going to be paying taxes on that, minus any penalty if you're doing it below 59 and a half. So Roth IRA is the only one you pay taxes up front, and you pull it out tax-free. All the rest, you get a tax deduction going in, and it's taxable coming out.
And
So-
small business people many times don't realize they can have a simple IRA or a SEP IRA, and many of them aren't taking advantage of having their own business and still being able to do the kind of things.
Right, because a lot of times the 401ks, there's certain extra fees that you got to pay to help manage that. Or let's just say, the price may not be advantageous if you only have 2 or 3 or 4 employees, right? Because the fees in there. Well, like Mark said, a lot of people don't know that. You can do a simple IRA plan with your broker or people like us, and we can help you get that set up and a very minimal cost compared to a 401k.
So which one would be more advantageous? Like the Roth sounds really good. So that Roth RIA, no penalties. So you pay your taxes up front. And any monies that you accrue on top of what you pay in is taxable coming out, but your money's not.
You've already
So-
paid on it. Yeah, you've
Correct.
already.
So the process to getting something like that started is A, B, C, D. What does that look like?
Well, again, in today's world, it's a little simpler. One, you can go online and find, companies that will help you online. You can go to many banks and they'll help you do that. You can go to professionals like Mark and I at DR Financial Group, who we can sit down with you and help you see how you do a traditional IRA or a regular IRA, or look at your other retirement account. So,
Yep. I think the best way to answer your question is you might know of a plan, but is that the best plan for you, right? So where are you going to go to get the advice to help you? That's where somebody like Chris or Mark comes into play. They sit down, look at your situation, where you're at in life, what your plans and goals are, and then says, this is what I would recommend where we start.
right,
correct?
the biggest mistake I see generally is that people don't know whether to do a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. A lot of that, I think, depends on what your income is and what tax bracket you're in. And obviously, most of us don't think about that until April 15th
They hear
when we pay our
my
taxes.
friend has a Roth IRA. I want to open a Roth IRA. I'm going to go online. My bank offers it. I'm just selecting Roth.
Right.
Was that the best plan for you at that time? Maybe, maybe
Well,
not.
Right.
it's really putting a plan together. That's your
Correct.
first thing. Put a plan together. Don't just go in. You see lots of people, I'm going to do an IRA. They don't really have a plan. Where are they headed?
And-
How much are they going to do? Why are they doing it? What's their target for retirement?
When we speak in terms of like IRA, that's individual retirement account, right? So an individual retirement account, there's a traditional individual retirement account or a Roth individual retirement account. Now, can I come to you gentlemen and open up a 401k?
No, but we can help you with a plan that associate that does that. So we, in a way, yes, we can. We have a team that we work together with that can get that done. So we have available. We personally don't do it in our business, but we'll work together with the team and the client.
So what is how does a 401k differ from a IRA?
Well, let's put it this way: if you're gonna do a 401k, you gotta be employed through your employer, who would be sponsoring that plan. So technically, if you just walked into my office,
There's the answer I was looking for.
you said, "Hey, I need a 401k," well, I can't help you with that, but your employer can.
A 401k is a retirement plan, but it's an employee-sponsored retirement plan. When you're with an employer and you want to contribute to that retirement plan or have them match it, that's called a 401k.
And
now,
if you're working
once
for a nonprofit, it's a 403b. So
403B.
sometimes people get, well, what's the difference between 403B and a 401k? Really nothing. It's just nonprofits have 403B. So if you work for a hospital, generally, that's not a public one. It'll be,
Now,
403B.
if I contribute to my work 401k plan, can I still open a IRA, Roth or traditional on my own?
Most likely, yes. But that's probably where you should sit down with a professional and make sure.
Okay,
Because
so
there's
there's
different
limits.
limits
Limits.
on income, limits on how much you can put away in retirement total. So, very hard question to answer
So
today.
technically, I could go open a traditional IRA online and put money into it, but at the end of the year, when I'm doing my tax and everything like that, I might have exceeded some limits that didn't benefit me at all. So that's where the
Professional
sitting
advice.
down
Yes.
with that professional advice, helping guide you on that is very crucial.
Right, and I believe there's limits on like Roth IRA contributions
Right.
as well. So, if you're making, quite a few $100,000, you may not even be eligible to put money in a Roth IRA. But I will say there's other solutions for another show, possibly down the road, that you can get some of that similar tax benefit.
So, question on the limits: are these limits from the government?
Yeah,
Of course.
to qualify for the plans. Yeah.
So, can I ask why would they put limits on these things? Why would the government do this?
This is going to be a matter of opinion, right? Yeah. My first thought is because they want to tax your money.
Right.
Right? Like if you contributed 50% of your income because you could afford to do that, you're not paying any taxes. That's less taxes they're collecting.
So these limits are put in place to make sure that they get their cut no matter
Matter of
what.
opinion, but
Well, and on the other end, that
Thought process.
72 and a half, you have to start taking it
Yep.
out so they do get their tax money.
yeah. So there is an age at which point in time you have to start taking what we call
Yes.
RMDs, which are required minimum distributions. So you have a retirement plan sitting there. There's ages before you can take out of it, but you're penalized, which is 59 and a half, right? I don't think we've mentioned that yet. Over between 59 and a half and what's the other age? That's 70 and a half?
73 now.
73 now,
73.
which that's currently been raised, right? Because
Yeah.
didn't it used to be 70 and a half?
Used to be 7.5, then it was 72. Now it's 73 for your required minimum
So
distribution.
between 59 and a half and 73, you don't have to take any money out, but that money is just sitting there not being taxed. The government's not getting anything from it.
You no
But
longer
you
have
can
a
still
penalty,
contribute
right.
to it up until 73, right?
As long as you're working.
As long as you're working.
Yep.
Okay. Now, 73, whether you're working or not, you then in turn now have to start pulling money out of that. So speak to me about the mindset of if I'm being taxed on the money, why would I not just take the money now and be taxed rather than waiting until I'm 73 and taking the money and being taxed? Right? Is there a difference? Is there a benefit tax bracket wise?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it as, when I sit down with my clients, what is their current income? And we look at what their tax bracket is. If they're in the 10 or 15% tax bracket right now, I recommend a Roth IRA. Because if I asked you and said, hey, do you mind paying 10 or 15% in taxes? Or I think right now it's 12%. Do you mind paying 10 or 12% in taxes? Most of them would say, I can live with that. I don't mind that. So pay that today. Let's buy that tax rate today so that when I get to retirement, I'm pulling it out tax-free. Because to me right now, there's a good chance that rates are probably at their lowest for right now. I don't see rates going much lower for taxes, probably going up in the future. So buy that tax rate today. Now, once you get over that 12% bracket, you get into 22, the 24, 35, whatever, 37, then I lean more toward, make sure you do the traditional IRA or a simple or your 401k because you can reduce your tax rate liability today. And then hopefully in retirement, you're not in the 22, 24, or 35. You're hopefully in the 12%, maybe 22. But that's how I look at it. It depends on your tax bracket, depends on where you put your money.
So you're basically betting on the fact that when you retire, your income is not as much as it used to be. Therefore, you're paying a lower tax percentage once you're retired than you are today when you're currently working and making income, right? Let's say I'm in a 22% tax bracket, but once I retire and I have no income coming in other than my Social Security or what I take out from my RMDs, I might be in a 12% tax bracket, right? So therefore, that same money, I basically paid 10% in taxes less on just by foregoing it until, later in my life when I can use it. Is that
And you're
accurate?
Also, yeah, but you're also not paying on the gains if you invested it someplace. You know, it's protected that whole time. You're not paying taxes every year on the gains in that.
So I'm working a job. I'm contributing to my 401k. I find a new job. I leave that job. What happens to my 401k? What kind of advice would you give me?
Well, we would look at a situation and say, we need to look at your total portfolio at that point. I usually recommend not to roll that 401k into your new 401k, just because, one, you may be subject to more fees than what you were paying or are paying. Number two, you still have your money at risk because most of the time you're in mutual funds for your 401k. Number three, now you're at the leisure of your new employer's plan for all the rules that they want to set forth in there, because basically the employer can set whatever rules they want inside that plan. So my recommendation is meet with a professional like Mark and I at DR Financial Group. Actually doing that just here, talked to a new client, walked to my office yesterday saying, hey, I've got a plan. He was actually coming in to roll it over because he was referred to by his dad to roll into his new plan. And I said, hey, you might want to look at other options, to reduce your fees or provide more safety, because there's all kind of different investments out there that you can reduce your risk on or create more risk.
And I think the thing to understand, the IRA is an umbrella over an investment.
You
can choose a
lot
of different.
There's different plans underneath that.
Right. It's understanding.
Umbrella.
It's just an umbrella. You're choosing an investment to put that IRA umbrella over.
So I have a 401k. I leave my job. I have a couple different options. One, I can leave it with my current employer, right? If my new employer offers a 401k plan, allows me to transfer it to the new 401k plan, I can transfer it to them. Or I can open up a IRA,
Correct.
individual retirement account, traditional, has to be of the same type, right? So 401k would go into a traditional IRA, technically. You open up an IRA and you can transfer it over to that, right? So it's always been my understanding that obviously with work-sponsored retirement plans, 401ks, they're limited on the options that you can put your money into, right? So more conservative mutual funds, target date funds, things like that. When you take possession of your money and roll it over into your own IRA, now you're not limited by that employer's, basically retirement model, right?
Right.
You can invest in whatever you want or whatever your advisor says. So I've always been of the impression it's always more beneficial to take possession of that 401k, put it into an IRA, and then in turn you now control what you invested in. You're not subject to whatever your new employer's is or your old employer's, programs consist of. Is that accurate?
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. And I think when you're doing that, you're also getting more education. What are the other options? Because when you're employer, lots of times, many people don't even do anything. They just let them do whatever they're going to do, or they don't even understand the choices. I don't know how many times has somebody come in, yeah, I really don't understand the choices, so I just did this, and this.
And I would say probably most of working America does not understand the choices. There's just sitting in a bucket there or something that whoever manages 401k plan said, just put it here. Right?
Yeah,
and just sits there
I
and
agree. I
grows,
think
and they don't readjust it or anything like that throughout the life.
Yeah, I think people are more like it's on remote control when they just put it in the 401k.
Right.
It's like, I really don't look at it. I don't know what to invest into anyways. And the only thing I really do is every time I get that quarterly statement, I just look at the balance, see whether I'm up or down, and so goes it. When you typically take that old 401k and you move it to an IRA, you're probably meeting with a professional. Like Mark said, I agree with him. You're taking more control. You're probably going to get more education. You're going to realize how retirement's going to work, what kind of income you can have in retirement. You're going to get a much more specialized service and benefits that you'll receive by meeting with a professional.
Not to mention, there's a lot of ins and outs of these things that you need to know. Like if you take possession of it, how can you take possession of it, and how long can you have possession before you could potentially be penalized for taking that money? Is what we call rollovers, indirect rollovers, those type of things. So it's always important to meet with a financial professional like Mark, like Chris, to kind of have these talks and do the financial planning aspect of it when making these decisions. One of the things that always got me at the bank is when I'm sitting in front of a client, I find out, hey, they just left their job, and, we have that conversation like, oh, did you leave a 401k behind? And I find out, they already transferred it to the new employer. Like, I missed them.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't know too many situations where that's the best option.
Right.
To roll it to your current employer's plan. Now, you want to open one with your current employer because you want to take advantage of that match that they're going to provide for you, but you open a new one there. You take in most situations, it's probably more beneficial to take possession of your retirement away from your previous employer, and now you control it. You know, whether that's
allows you
yourself,
to
you have the knowledge,
diversify
or with
best.
a professional
Yeah.
like Chris or Mark.
It allows you better diversification.
Yeah,
You know, in
diversification.
at that point.
So,
I have a question.
James, I was going to say, I know we were talking beforehand that you had a really important question. I want to give you a chance to ask that.
Okay, so I am living below poverty, right? So in my place of living in that, what we put in that status quo poverty, what does it look like for somebody like me? How do you help me to get in a better position? What steps should I take as an individual living in poverty to move to a better space when we talk about the budgeting, the being in a place where you can invest, the better job where they actually match you when you could do like a 401. So professionals, help me understand what should I do to change my trajectory in life.
And I'm assuming you're working?
I have a job, but yet and still I'm
You live paycheck to paycheck.
living paycheck to paycheck. When we talk about saving, I can't see that because waiting to pay the light bill till next month, you know, because I only got enough to pay everything but the light bill. So
My recommendation would be, and again, in this work environment, it's a lot easier, is maybe find that job that has more of that traditional pension mentality, that the company will put money away on your behalf without having you put money in. You know, a lot of times some of the government jobs are more like that, where there's pensions. I know just this morning I was reading about the options that the UAW wants for their benefits as they ponder going on strike here. And basically they said they want to start bringing back this traditional pension idea. I mean, I can go into a long diatribe, which we don't have time today, but you know, companies got away from doing pensions because there was a lot of cost and management, and they just didn't want the responsibility. So everybody shifted to this 401k, traditional IRA mentality, simple mentality, which put it all on the employee. It seems now that it's starting to shift back just a little bit because, surprise, surprise, most of us aren't big savers, and now people are retiring without money. So my big thing would be is, you know, take that extra time to find a job that can provide better retirement benefits for you without you having to put so much money in, so that way you're not pulling money out of your income that you're really needing. You know, maybe there's a job with a pension.
And I think, James, to help answer that question also, we've talked numerous times on this show about we can't just make money appear, right? If you're truly are living paycheck to paycheck, where every single dollar is accounted for to pay a bill or for food, and we're not indulging in the extras, right? You know, cigarettes, alcohol, you know, Starbucks, whatever the case may be. We can't just make money magically appear to retire. But what we can do is change our mindset or our choices, right? Do we have to get a second job because we have a mindset of a longer term outlook? I'm not just living for the next 10 years and I plan on living past working, right? Maybe I work a part-time job after I retire or something like that, but I'm thinking long-term wise. When I get 65, 70 years old, I don't want to be working a 9 to 5 anymore. So am I going to work harder now to make some extra money that allows me to pay the bills as well as save for that time period when I'm not going to be working or don't want to be working anymore? I mean, would you agree with that? Like choices and mindset, we can't make money appear, but we can change that.
totally agree. I mean, we've always talked about the fact that how important choice is in sitting down, evaluating your personal space and what's going on in your life, and at that point making the choices needed, which goes back to the very beginning when we talked about budgeting and how important that is, because once you have that budget and you see you're sinking every month, then you know you need to make adjustments. So there's an important choice that needs to be made there. So the relevance of finding that job that immediately changes all of that.
Well, let me just say, find the resources that help you prepare to go in for a job. Where can I go? Who can help me know how to walk into a job and be somebody that they want to hire, not just, I need a job. How do I prepare myself to go job hunting? You know, there's lots of resources out there to help you. You know, find somebody that'll help you. Okay, dress like this and go in with this attitude. And do you have a resume? And, you know, with that attitude, I'm going to get a good job. Or do like, I mean, your story still impresses me where you worked you shined where you were. You just were a light bulb shining. You were just excelling where you're at, and somebody noticed you. Those are all important. It's about attitude. Those are all important things for elevating myself. You don't deserve to be in poverty. You deserve to have a good job. Now's a great time to find a better job.
Yeah, and when you're interviewing, ask about those benefits. Most people don't ask about the benefits in a job interview. They're worried about the job or how much am I making hourly. They don't talk about what the benefits are. Do you have a 401k plan? If so, how much do you match? That type of thing to help you make that decision, right?
Can I end my conversation today on a story? So, in celebration of Labor Day. So, sitting there on Labor Day with my 18-year-old daughter, just graduated from high school, getting ready to go toward cosmetology, and she sits there and kind of gave that, wow, life's kind of hard. Graduated from high school, realized how much daddy and mommy were helping out.
Yeah, duh, I should have stayed in school. And
Yeah. And so I go, yeah, it is. I go, but it's all about choices. And it was like a mic drop, She had really nothing else to say. I said, it's really all about choices. So you can make your life harder. You can make it easier. Sometimes life is hard even when you make the right choices, but it's a lot harder when you make bad choices all the time.
Yeah.
So to go with James' comment, basically.
Yeah.
So great conversation. You got one thing to add, James?
Yeah. Can I have that camera right there? From me to you, right where you are, man, one of the most important things you could do is always, one, invest in yourself. Understand where you are in your life and begin to invest in yourself by assessing where you are and what you need to do to make your life better. We strongly encourage you to take ownership of you and do better by yourself. That's where it starts at.
Well, I was going to take us out, but I can't do any better than that. So, James, thank you. I will just add one more thing to what we talked about today. Don't go to the store hungry. Budget 101. Remember that, okay?
Don't do what Ryan just did.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next week, 8:30, Wednesday. Till then, this is Neutral Voices.
Peace.
Out.